Hello, Music Multiverse listeners, and welcome to Beyond Your Radio, this album review Saturday show, episode 26. Obviously, this is an extension of our articles section, so if you like the clever banter and stuff that I come up with for these albums reviews, it's there for you. Obviously, I'm on location here in Philadelphia. It's been a very long day, but I still wanted to get to these reviews. This is very important to me to keep the schedule, although already at this point, I believe we're pushing 11:45 at night. As always, if you like what we're doing here, please subscribe, leave your constant marker on our channel, as we say. And if you already have, thank you so much. And we love the music conversation here for sure. And I'm hoping that this week does give us a much larger conversation and piece because it's an important album being reviewed today. So on the site today, it's Mary Spender's debut, Super Sexy Heartbreak, Jim Cuddy of Blue Rodeo of Canada, his sixth studio album, All the World Fades Away, and Scene Queen, Hot Singles in Your Area. Imagination run away with that for now. And of course, I've got a couple others at the end. So I am not going to put the audio pieces into the show today because I think you'll understand why once you appreciate the idea of going after and watching these audio pieces on the unheard side. This album review, 2024, episode 26, is basically a confession as to how hard these things are to do. First of all, given the amount of music that I listen to, and this is album-wise, and digesting, it's hard to get yourself out of the previous mood you're in, the mode and the genre, maybe. So there's also the anticipation of reviewing something that I was feeling that I really wanted to listen to. And then, of course, there's those that are under critical acclaim or critical disclaim. Of course, those that the social media realms are in a love-hate relationship with. And something that I consider, and some of my counterparts in the business of reviews who have much more experience than I do, as well as probably a music education background, the effect and affect of reviewing an individual or bands that you either have respected or have found respect for. What if the finished product in your ear for review is not falling into the audio space you expected it to? It makes it very difficult to write. I do listen to an album for review and then decide it can't be done. No, we're going to do it anyway. And that's part of the dilemma. What do you do once you've done something of this nature? I still push on, finding my way to put the pros to the paper so that the reader, listener, can be informed somehow about the work. This album review 2024, episode 26, truly has a different spin on one of those problems. An honest creator in both the music world and the YouTube environment, as well as a complete joy to listen to speak and in form of her career journey, released what I believe would be considered her debut album. Then I have a Canadian singer-songwriter icon in Jim Cuddy that comes along, and he's an icon throughout all of Canada. So you're going to be reviewing his album. What if you're going to think of that? And then finally, I end this one on Scene Queen, which pretty raunchy and ridiculous, right? What am I saying, right? Please understand that I don't take any album lightly, and I pour every inch of time, heart, and ear soul, I'll call it, into each and every review. The anxiety is what becomes of the aftermath of it. So far, so good. But once more, into the music review uncertainty we go. So let's start off with the one I've been wanting to do and dreading. And okay, so Super Sexy Heartbreak, Mary Spender. There's nothing better than the story and completion of someone's labor of love. While I hold no candle to the accomplishment and entrepreneurial self-starter success she has cultivated through sheer pleasant, professional, and love of music, creativity, and appreciation, I do understand putting yourself out there, finishing such a labor of love. Mine was novels. And then, of course, putting together, Beyond Your Radio. Um, the anxiety of should I have said this, done that, as well as the time involved in such endeavors. Let me first preface why Mary's album is in the review. Yes, there's a cliche to the struggling artist, but Mary Spender found a way to beautify her struggle while continually showcasing her love of music, making outstandingly engaging and respectful covers. And if you haven't, go take a listen, watch, and then going out on a limb presented to her by John Mayer. Although I will not go into the entire details of it all, just she wrote a song before he sent the song out. There's a whole story on that. If you don't know the social media story, it's okay. It's just a damn good one, and it involves how things got a little bit bigger, more sudden, and how she took advantage of it. She is highly talented in using the social media environment and taking risks, smart risks, professional risks, I think. So John Mayer did find out that he'd been beaten to the punch musically on this particular song, and he really elevated the attention to her. So Mary Spender, to advance and become a little bit more than the struggling artist, it catapulted her social media and expanded her audience. So that's truly cool. It's well deserved. I have watched many of her YouTube videos, and while I'm not a musician, I love her insight, her vocal, both in speaking and in singing. And I appreciate her continuing that journey, which is why her self-financed, all hands-on deck production, along with musical assistance from some of Mayer's bandmates, apparently, um, is now an important album review this year. Not only have we been waiting for this particular album to be heard, and I didn't listen to the song by song release as she set out. Guys know me, I don't do that kind of stuff. So when the album was the album, I went to hear the whole album. But I think this young woman has been waiting for this moment her entire life, and she deserves it. So Super Sexy Heartbreak has a lovely tone. Interestingly, perfect arrangements. This album just sounds perfect. It's made perfect. In fact, the lyrical detail, the inclusion that probably defines her humanness as well as her appreciation for the art form is there. This album is not going to pull any shock value at all. The production trickery, none at all. This is just straight up well done contemporary music in maybe a rock environment, to some degree pop, jazz. Super Sexy Heartbreak is the genuine, honest article of an indie soft rock and this jazz adherence to vocal and production. And I'll explain that a little bit in a bit. Music makers' appreciation for sound, feeling, and light emotion on this album, for sure. My statement of jazz. It's there because I feel Mary Spender slides perfectly into an early Nora Jones, Patricia Barber, and Cassandra Wilson in respecting pitch, sending that vocal out there and seeming to find it impossible to falter on any note. I mean, um, not even a little. Okay. And when I say little, I love the way she pronounces it effortlessly and sings the word in two songs. Perfectionist? I think so, possibly. But I assume she is the one that's featured in like Van Gogh's artist bedroom, right? She's perfectionist, but her bedroom is messy and what you would think. And that's sort of the shortcoming here. I need a bit of messy. Um, I think the listener wants a bit of that too. Let a note fall, let your voice crack. So it leaves a hint of imperfection. Drop, drop, slow tears does have a hint of that, or maybe she's incapable of hitting that off note. I don't know. Ha ha ha. I'm sure she can if she wanted to. But more importantly, so it draws the listener in a bit more to that beauty of the record. If Richard Marx, let's say, doesn't crack or don't mean nothing, when it gets to that refrain and it gets to the bigger side of it where he crashes that vocal, when it goes, don't mean nothing at all. It's just not as powerful. It's just not as memorable. Not that there's a rock riff on Mary Spender's Super Sexy Heartbreak in that comparison, but it felt like she was holding back a bit. It's a solid debut that in adult contemporary and jazz world would draw some very good attention, and it's going to. There's no question. I've listened to the album full out 4 times, and in brevity of picking songs and talking about things, at least another 6. I just wish she'd throw a little caution to the wind. Break free from that "I'll stay quiet" on the next one. Give us that blues of church bell with a bit more ache or fear or edge or crackle. In fact, I'm winding down this review when I was writing it, and it came to me that it has a Rihanna Giddens type of passion in that wheelhouse. And I honestly think that she could sort of expand even more so into those type of realms, into risk taking and using different vocal patterns and different instrumentations because she has that talent. So that's kind of one of those that I kind of latched onto right at the end. Um, I think that goes into the next Mary Spender album, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be one after that. Here's to the truly self-starter, the risk taker, starving artist whose path to realization of a dream was worth the ride for her, and fortunately for the rest of us in the music multiverse who have taken notice. And there are a lot of us who have. And obviously, I am nowhere near as important as the Rick Beatos of the world, the John Mayers, or anybody else. But it's just congratulations to Mary Spender on a very good record that deserves the listen. Next up, Jim Cuddy, All the World Fades Away. With an opening track that reminds you of his Blue Rodeo attachments, it's easy to understand why. Several of the people on the record are from Blue Rodeo. These are icons of Canadian music making and will forever be that way. But the great thing is this man's vocal and this soft delivery in country rock, we'll call it, is very well put together. And his voice being iconic, it makes indoor and outdoor establishments throughout Canada. Um, it puts it right back in the memory, in the wheelhouse of everything that they remember, right? Um, he is really good at taking present and past um, and giving you a positive moment. He even alludes to it in You Belong and how it just all comes together and how it feels. That's the emotional grasp and backbone of Jim Cuddy's latest, and it's very worthy 6th solo album, All the World Fades Away. The album is considered country rock. It feels like it's drawn there probably because of the Blue Rodeo career and vocal familiarity and those people that are on the record. But there's a fiddle, violin, and piano that fits the mojo honky tonk ish kind of a little bit hits. The gift he is goes beyond the vocal and the contemporary country vibe of this. His songwriting is always impressive in the way it becomes easily accessible, quick to understand, and quick to relate to. And he sets a lovely visual image within it. Anywhere Else But Home is a prime example of how each song reaches an ability to be a part of your own thought process, or how you grew up, or how you acted, or how you might have missed out on something. Well, not everything is said and done, and even though we know where he's from, we always find something new and comfortable about the ride, both musically and lyrically, with Jim. Um, the other comfort here is the way in which Cuddy builds his songs on the flow of the album. He brings thoughtfulness, the heartache, the bliss, and then also reaches for reflection too. Past memories, obviously that's where these songs come. There's always some impression the world has left on us, and even for Cuddy and all his success, he feels it too. Scars, Good News, and even the more jazz-tempered Torn have that. Which brings me into the composition of fiddle and violin and the subtle snare and the organ and this guy on cello. Mention him in a second. Which they're like a soft blanket, the crackling fire, the smoky room, the sound of an open valley in a starry night. It's just wonderfully done. Even the instruments and the humans at the helm are feeling that emotion too. They know how to hold the note or hold off. And of course, that cello. That's Kevin Fox. And Kevin is a Canadian music playing, instrument loving, dependable, talented treasure that one of these unknown Sundays I'm going to expand on. There is commentary version to this album with Jim, and I think it's very well done. It's very short in each page, but it gives you a little bit of context for the songs. It lays out a lot of the sensitivity, the meaning of the songs, and the passage of time in everything and anything you do. He does really hit the mark, though, when he states that all of these memories, the passions of them, and the power of them truly belongs in us, in you. So he built a lifetime, a career, and a wonderful band. All of this, and bringing it all through the beauty of a full length album. That's it, man. Put it on, and all the world fades away for sure. Allow the correlation of memories and emotions culminate positively in a time, when that might not always have been possible or might be possible. All right, Scene Queen, hot singles in your area. Title Beware. All right. It's time for an industrial club, hard rock, heavily programmed, formulaic, attention seeking, porn queen, snide take on what is definitely an all out vagina to the wall, not balls to the wall, unapologetic vocal nails on a chalkboard album of mass raunch and ruckus. Sound interesting? Sure. Been there before. This is meant to be devoured like fruitless, artery clogging ponderosa buffet. But it is done with a new, um, entirely new swanky digs. You got complete shameless stripper poles in there, white trash employees in tuxedos with red lipsticks and smiles on their faces that probably match that of the horror movie of the same title. This is the album review for the schizophrenic that tries to embody the modern mayhem, applauding the clever manic approach and the matching production, but at the same time having their blood boil over with the vocal and repetitive nature of the war of the sex organs. It's like being the pubescent boy, treasuring the filthy hotness and believing there's a chance that the girls are definitely like this. They're not. And then it's the boyfriend or husband when it actually happens and doesn't sound right. It looks very bad on your overall life's resume. Hot singles in your area is a warning sign. It's a warning sign on the road ahead. And there's a lot of people saying we'd be better off dead than listening to this. And there's a lot of people saying this is worth an album of the year shout out. I try to forget it, this album, any way I can. You can keep on rocking in the free world, my dear. It's music. It does have tempo, and Limp Bizkit meets Marilyn Manson meets Lords of Acid moments. It even has some very funny moments, and it has one that I truly like is, if I had a dick, okay, I get it. All right. But it might have been better served if it had a bit of more instrumental in lieu of the vocal and lyrics. The vocals are not very good. They're overproduced because they probably had to be. That's right. There's no way this should be remotely discussed for any type of album of the year discussion. However, this could be someone's guilty pleasure. This could be something of an Eminem kind of nature as to how this is the female Eminem, but not in a rap environment. It's more of a heavy rock environment. So anyway, that's what I thought of Scene Queen, and I definitely am not going to be impressed by any musical show, article driven paper, pitchfork, whatever, whoever it is that puts this in there. This is bimbo core, and it's done fairly well, but what does that matter? Just because it sticks in your crawl, it should be nominated? No, no. It's entertainment, yes, but is it the best kind of entertainment? No. Is it something ear-worthy multiple times over? No, it's just not. Unfortunately, there's other things that have been done much better. So, what do I have for the extra for you? Well, first of all, I'm going to start with Madeline Peru's "Let's Walk." Um, this is jazz. Um, she's relatively well known, I would think. She's been doing this for quite some time. The album has all those qualities that you would expect, although it takes a minute to get there. The opening track does not leave you with that impression right away that this is the environment she's going to go into. She does take some risks. Um, they're not as poignant as they should have been, but there's definitely a plan, a structure for it all, and her voice is absolutely lovely. She knows how to bring in a low note and push it, and uh, there's nothing more satisfying in that smoky bar room than that kind of vocal, and I could see it being played live, and I would love to see her live. Haven't had that opportunity. Let's Walk is definitely a little stretch over the jazz line that she's normally crossed or been in. She's crossing that line a bit here and there. I would say that this is a little bit of an adventure, but not so far, and you might enjoy it. I certainly did. The first out song does throw you a bit, and lyrically put together very, very well. There's nothing thrown away or left behind. She definitely hits it on all cylinders when she's delivering it. And again, a little bit like Mary Spender in that regard is a little safe, but that's how her vocal is. For her to be pitchy and dark, edgy and horror driven, maybe a little bit. Like some of the things I like might be a little out of this wheelhouse and make her sound a bit not what she is. But it's just one of those albums that will probably get lost in the shuffle of jazz albums this year. Although I don't think jazz has had a very strong uh, coming out so far in 2024. There are a few records I know that are on my list for best albums of 2024, but not many. So hopefully there's some more to come. This was definitely one of those that was on my list, and I was, oh, good, good. I haven't heard anything from her in a while, and this one uh, had its little moments of different, and then faded back into those comfort pockets, which were good, but nothing that was going to throw this up in the upper stratosphere of what jazz is today. So the last record I have is all instrumental, and it's called the Dirty Three, and the it's Love Changes Everything. This is pure instrumental rock. I don't know if it's fusion. Maybe you could say it is. Fusion's a dirty word. You can, as long as you're fusing something together, right? I don't think it has to be necessarily have keyboard in it or jazz funk or whatever. But so what is the Dirty Three? They are, I love it. I love when people say this. They are a soundtrack to an unmade movie. Well, an unmade movie of oh, I don't know, of Stanley Kubrick, lost proportions like a Clockwork Orange, maybe in some cases. Love Changes Everything is their first album, I think, in 10 years. I have not been in a wheelhouse of them for very, very long. So this is almost my first um, play on the band. Now, Love Changes Everything is distinguishable by parts, and I love the way they end tracks. They do it very, very well. The sound on this is immaculate. Um, there's just a chaos about it. The instruments, it's sort of unexplainable in that regard. I mean, part one begins with like they're warming up to a crackling hum, or a I don't know, some distant track looping back. Um, it's totally unique. I don't think there's anyone like them doing this today that I could think of once I listened to it. And it's definitely one that you're going to want to put in your earbuds. So I still think this is fusion in industrial in instrumental, but I do not think it is um, that jazz fusion. This is rock fused with a whole lot of other stuff, and it, it's just like there's spacey kind of stuff to it. There's even an ambient kind of placement. And there are times where this album does get stuck in repetitive moments that you're like, but there's still a lot of other things going on, but you're wishing that they would come clean a little bit more quicker. I mean, I don't think there's any reason to elongate it, but you're up to like six parts of this. There's violin, there's all kinds of instrumentation going on, and um, it's jammy too, which is kind of unique in that kind of setting when you're doing what is considered a soundtrack unheard. It's kind of cool, but it's still an engaging listen and something I've gone back to now twice. And I think even the third time I'll find more because, like I said, there's a lot of instrumentation going on. I think if the tracks were shorter and not all the same titles in part ones and part twos and part threes and four, this doesn't fall into progressive rock instrumental, but it does. Maybe it does. It's like a little of everything. It's like a smorgasbord. But anyway, that's the Dirty Three, and that is Love Changes Everything. That's instrumental, progressive rock, jam rock, soundtrack rock, um, all kinds of things. So kudos again to Mary Spender on Super Sexy Heartbreak. Obviously, she's not gonna watch this video, but it's just I think some of the you and the multiverse music should listen to this and appreciate it. Jim Cuddy's record, an outstanding country rock album of soft, more contemporary kind of delivery, but such meaningful beauty, and he does wonderful descriptive work too in that. So you'll appreciate that. You can dive into Scene Queen and at your own risk. Give it that. It is a hint better in its musical delivery of punchy Limp Bizkit, Marilyn Manson than the new Eminem that I've heard already. So that give that a spin in your head for a minute. And of course, my Madeline Peru from France, another good record, taking some risks, kind of like that. And Dirty Three instrumental, get on that. That's a pretty good recording. If you don't like singing and everything, you're gonna love it. You really will. We're on the web at beyondyourradio.com, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, of course. It's all about bands, albums, artists, anything we can get hot little hands on. Tomorrow is Unknown Sundays from Bastille Day, so obviously expect something French. Not going to tell you yet, but it'll be another late video. I'm sorry, but I got to drive 6 hours home. Go beyond your radio with us, a real music appreciation channel. And until next time, next week, and I think we'll be featuring Mike Campbell and the Dirty Knobs, Emily Anna Torini, and Mothman and the Thunderbirds. So, and of course, some others. So, and I will be joined by panelists next week while I'm in Boston. Thank you again and happy listening.